Hi, I would like to start a new series called Fairy Tales for the Insanes. It's a collection of very short stories I've written over the past several years, and it also contains Nietzschean type so-called wisdoms called Notes from Vain Time. So the story I would like to read is about Ghost in the Shell, about the machine, the mind and the soul. It's called The Last Woman in Space. Hence, times were volatile, markets shifted eastward as the western hegemon fell apart like a leviathan without legs. The magnetic poles were also drifting, shifting and triggering storms and cosmic rays that hit Earth for the next couple of centuries or so until they would stabilize again. This was long overdue, as the climate change with the vagaries of the geomagnetosphere relative to solar connectivity. Solar domes, fusion-powered tokamak generators were created to stabilize the planet. A far-fetched dream of utopian city-states, it all fell into disuse. The prototype in France, Cadarache, failing due to lack of funding and internal unrest. Nevertheless, there was a minor breakthrough in one of the DARPA laboratories just before humanity was on the brink of war. The Chinese built 1,320-ton stages for the god of war. In research facilities based on a collection of digital IDs, quantum computer algorithmization and mass radionics, the collective brain was slowly being decoded as the hive. As for its cognitive physiological mechanisms, social engineering programs along with cruel experiments on the mind with psychiatry on the banners, merging with neurolinguistics and biopsychology gave a new imprint to a strange, eerie reputation. The first prototype cyborg was called DB, just like the real representatives died out on Earth. With the creation of the first fully functional cyborg came a commendable optimism that the Dark Ages were over, that humanity had once again entered a new era. The volunteer father of the project, a researcher called Simon Darwin, and his assistant Hélène Descartes, had not only created the cyborg, deciphered man's erratic mind and created a synthetic brain, but also agreed to transfer his brilliant mind into the machine's thinking framework. He said he was the first immortal, the Nibelungen Methuselah. Hearing the news, one man initially flew into a rage, but when his colleague calmed him down, he said in a resigned voice, "It's like transferring a mind into a corpse, a technological necromancy, nothing else." The Buddhists explained the samskaras as compound clusters, and the goal was to dismantle them in order to refine consciousness, the spirit, reflect its purity and become free. What they do is essentially locking up the deluded ignorant mind into a self-created horror chamber to virtualize an already virtualized hell. "Why the hell?" Ida said. "Surely you are not postulating that there is a reality outside this world, some metaphysical nonsense. Humanity's concentrated effort has always been aimed at freeing itself from suffering. You cited Buddhism as an example. Is not that the ultimate goal? And are you a modern-day Buddhist who is afraid to deal with technology?" Again, he replied to Ida, "Maybe you are right, but I prefer the good old biomantic school. Life has been laid out in this universe for billions of years. Was not it for a purpose? Or are we really a plague of the void to become machines that traverse the void to colonize, to beget spirit, to constantly expand? It is true our species have their limits. It is not eternal as an organism, as an ape striving to be divine. Ancient people had more intellect than we have today. When we are all transferred to the cybercore, what will come? A digital eternity in the cold fires of dark energy? I have to come to terms with that now. I did not know the sequencer technology, the PSYOP Steve, would lead to something like this. What's next? Now they are going to build the Hyperion Ark. Alright, I am done with the credits. It should be an ark for the living, not a tomb for the cyborg dead." Ida replied, Your job is done, old man. At least you are of use to the company. By the way, I have been employed since then. I will contact the agency. You can spend the rest of your days in a place surrounded by greenery. You know, a forest and a small house, just like you always dreamed of. Someone is waiting for you there." He fell silent, his gaze vicious and cold as life had taught him, and he whispered, "Fuck you, fuck you, Aida. If you do not want to sit here and spend the rest of your days as a loser, you can sign a new contract if you want. They have already promoted me to a star lieutenant, new ranks, that's good." He stared out into the universe, trying to rest his eyes upon a star, upon a tear he once had, and whispered, "Fuck you all." "Then that's settled," said Aida, leaving the apartment and quietly closing the door. He sat in his armchair, pleasantly stunned, and once again did not know if it was the honest part of him or an act he made up himself. He would rather believe it was honesty. For a while he remembered the embrace of someone from another time. She was killed, replaced, swept away. Where does she live now? How is she? He pondered. I do not want to know. He remembered seeing her face in the stars. The project was widely advertised, many volunteered, and only the best minds were selected for transfer, or the richest. Some had euthanasia injections given to them, which killed them after the mind transfer. It was like a fashion statement to be a cyborg. The first colonizer arc was full of mind clones and machines, and while humans cheered their superior class of beings, some wanted to protest. Some were reasonable moderates, others were religious fanatics. The former tried to reform what was left of the planet. The latter howled time dead and tried by all means to convert others to their one religion. Soon a war developed, a global bloody war. The survivors retreated to the deserts with their crosses and taught others about the book. Others were wandering scavengers, and few wanted to organize, soon forming paramilitary cliques. But the birth rate was almost zero because of the yellow dust and winds that developed after the repolarization. Nuclear meltdowns everywhere after the Carrington events multiplied. Failure of satellite communications. Between the Atlantic only fiber optic cables worked. Communication was maintained for a while with generators, but soon contact between continents was lost. Great windstorms brought a lot of sand from the deserts, which rarely settled anywhere. It was a whirlwind of an air dune. The sixth extinction. It was our fault, they all said in the end. He died before all this happened. He did not know it, but the last words he spoke were, "Wings of the ancestors and Noia. Take me back, may this hell realm of this lying corpse come. Yellow planet, black planet, take me back." It was all in vain. He took sedatives and drank Nembutal. After 15 minutes, set fire to his apartment while looking at the full moon in Libra, which was conjunct with HT 140283, a star of magnitude 7,223. Between fires, he smiled. Some said only a man freezing to death feels a divine fire just before he's raptured into the stars, and so. He heard this 50 years ago in a psychiatric hospital from a fellow patient. On his deathbed, this thought did not occur to him. He knew it and smiled. After resetting and activating their synth brains, the human clone IDs woke up on the Hyperion arc. There was something wrong with the cruiser, a technical glitch. The main plasma conduit had failed. The cyborgs did not panic. They bickered and blamed the humans for an error. It was probably damaged during the warp, an old businessman cyborg remarked. Mighty were the towers of the ziggurats, they built them for the stars. Immediately after, the shielding collapsed and pieces of the exquisitely three-dimensional, nano-printed industrial-sized titanium-1 alloys began to fall off the ship. The last one to eject was Aida. She was smart and hooked up to the spine charger, a tough survivalist girl on Earth. She had an unkind childhood, grew into a highly disciplined, analytical bitch, as she was called in academic circles, and eventually attained the title of genius, mistress of the lab, alchemist of high tech. Before Aida was hurled from the space shuttle into the cosmic void, ready to wander the void of the cosmos for as long as her charred cells lasted, she thought, "Why are we alone?" With her pseudo-bionic eye, a cyborg saw a flash. She gave the command, scan all spectra. That's not necessary. Her cybernetic brain listened inside. She noticed a sliver of a face in silver and gold, suspended in the starry skies. Magnificent, radiant, outshining her for a while. The last thought before she was torn apart, her cyborg matter was, "It's me, I am her." Finally, what did we do wrong? The alloy of matter that made her up was torn to pieces. A nanotech processor was destroyed. A glorious song rang out through the cosmic space and thundered throughout the universe as everything returned to a gigantic calm to be no more. The earth, after time had passed, was green again. Thank you.